Over 50% of counties in Kenya have 70% access to electricity.
More than 24 counties.
More than 24 counties. 76% of Kenyans have access to tier 2 or above in terms of electricity access.
Yeah.
So they can be able to charge their phones, watch televisions, have light for 4 hours in the day, 2 hours in the night, and do other things.
This is one of the ways in which we can develop our healthcare system, our education sector. We can improve our security.
Access is different based on different jurisdictions.
Welcome to another episode of the Executive Review Podcast. I am your host, Okinda. Today, we are pleased to once again host an energy expert that you have seen before, Amkoa Likoko. Welcome to the conversation, Amkoa.
Thank you very much, Rick.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Yeah.
And having conversations that actually matter in the electricity sector space.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. The last time we had a conversation here, people really came to follow the conversation and they were very happy with the kind of things we were talking about. We were covering quite a bit about the state of energy access in the continent. And you gave us some really good nuggets. And most of us are now more aware about energy than before because of the conversation we had. I think it's good to always have you around. Before we get into the heat of the conversation, allow me to ask you a few quick fire questions. You know, people normally want to see the other side of you outside what you do as an energy expert.
Yes.
And the first question, what music were you listening to when you're coming here?
I was listening to, I'm a big fan of R&B.
Uh-huh.
So
anything R&B,
anything neo
Yeah.
is always part of my playlist.
Neo.
Yes.
You must be, is it a millennial?
I am a Gen Z millennial. I'm in that spectrum.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They say 1996 people are born in.
Those are Men Z.
Yes.
They're both millennials and they're also Gen
Yes.
Zs
So I'm in
way.
the spectrum.
You're in the spectrum.
I'm in the spectrum.
Oh, that's good. My second question is on energy.
Yeah.
How do you pay for your tokens back home? Do you use an app? Do you use USSD?
I think it's the country has made significant improvements in ensuring that mobile money payments work across all the sectors.
Yeah.
So it is very easy for me to just use the normal USSD token to be able to pay for my electricity, not just in Nairobi, but even if I go to my house in the village.
Even if you have that that small phone,
I'm able to make that payment.
Yeah.
It's important for us to recognize that development, because if you go to other countries, even that is really a huge challenge.
Yeah. If you are the helm of the energy sector in one of the most critical decision-making organs, what will you change about our energy situation as a country?
I don't think there's a lot to change. I think there's just a lot to improve. And I will begin on the foundational aspects of the discussion that we're going to have today, electricity access.
Electricity
access.
access.
It is the right of every Kenyan to be able to have access to good, reliable, and affordable power in their households.
Okay. When is the first time you are home in the rural area connected to the grid?
It got connected, I think, when I was in Form 3.
Oh, that was, you spent a whole level of education, the basic primary, using natural light to study.
Not really, because I used to live in Nairobi, but you can imagine.
You grew up in Nairobi.
I grew up in Nairobi.
Yeah.
But my rural village, where I visit a lot, it's in Vihiga. Vihiga, and Vihiga actually has one of the highest access rates in terms of the counties, and at 2015 we still do not have electricity. So that is where we used to. My relatives back home are the ones who I can say were quite challenged on that spectrum.
We'll say you are one of the privileged Kenyans to grow up with electricity in your house and be able to study and.
Yes, I
count it a privilege.
I do count it a privilege.
Yeah.
But at this point, the discussion should be moving from it being a privilege to it being a basic need.
To it being a basic need.
Yes.
That's why you're going to have this conversation.
That's why we're having the conversation.
And my final question, which animal of the jungle would you want to be if you lived in the jungle?
I think I'd like to be the elephant.
The elephant. You want to be the giant.
I'd like to be the giant.
The most visible.
The most visible, the most ferocious.
But you know elephants can also graze. They're agile. If they can't hunt, they can eat trees.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, but they're also very destructive.
The more reason for me to be an elephant.
Yeah. They're also very destructive, but also they're very communal. You'll always see them in herds.
Yeah, they can be domesticated as well.
They can be domesticated.
It's easy. If you go to India and you go to other parts of the world, you see how they've really blended in with the society. So that's a good thing.
So today we are talking about access to energy, and we'll be narrowing down to Kenya and Africa as a continent.
For sure.
We grew up in a continent that was called black or dark, especially in reference to lack of access to energy. What do you think were the reasons why we were left behind by the rest of the world so that we didn't have access to energy for the longest time?
The world began industrializing quite fast.
Yeah.
And it's important to note that Africa was a little bit behind at that time. So priorities on industrialization, on agriculture development really began from the other side of the world. It's just recent where electricity access became an important factor. Africans really looked at other things like security, food availability, health, and just being able to survive in the environment. So electricity was quite a privilege back then, but as economies continue to grow, electricity access becomes a very important factor.
Yeah, I get it. You know, so, there's a piece of reading that I was going through some article, and I was saying that what we call technology is something which is relative, because fire in itself is one of the greatest inventions ever made by man.
That's true.
And it's highly likely that fire was actually invented here in Africa.
That's true.
And when fire was invented, it changed the whole being and civilization of man. It's the one invention that truly brought civilization.
That one is true.
Yeah, because it is fire that changed how man eats.
Yeah.
They could preserve their food. They could even hunt more dangerous animals in the wilderness. They could be able to move from the caves and live in more open places because they had a way to live amongst the wilderness just because of fire. Fire also was a source of energy in many ways. And I think if we were at the forefront as a continent of such kind of innovation, it is very sorry that we were left behind when we got into the second and the third and the fourth phase of industrialization. So that we're always playing catch up.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think it's important to realize that light,
Yeah.
even in the very ancient days when the world was being formed, the first one of the very first commandments by God Himself said that there be light,
and there was light.
There was light. They separated light from the darkness. So it's electricity access and light and things like that are very important as countries move towards industrialization, and it begins from the very beginning.
From the very beginning of time.
Yeah.
What will you say is electricity access in your definition as an expert?
Electricity access is a state in which a household is connected to power, either from the grid, a mini grid, or a standalone solar home system. Ideally reaching levels we call Tier 2.
Tier 2.
In Kenya, the definition is different from other countries. Tier 2 is being able to access electricity at least for 4 hours in a day and 2 hours in the night, based on World Bank definitions.
That is for household consumption.
Household consumption. Remember, households is the foundation of electricity access.
Of a community.
Yeah. So basically, that's where it begins.
So you've said 4 hours in the day,
2
and 2 hours at night.
That's
if you can achieve that, you have access to electricity.
And it also must at least have some level of reliability. Different regions have different levels of reliabilities, but at least that's a basic minimum for almost all Kenyans.
Yeah.
Other countries consider Tier 1 access as electricity access. And Tier 1 is basically 4 hours during the day, 1 hour during the night, and that electricity is only able to do lighting.
Okay.
For Tier 2, we talk about lighting, we talk about televisions, we talk about phone charging, we talk about even things like clean cooking, form part of tier 2. So the access is different based on different jurisdictions.
So in short, if you are not able to have access to electricity, to charge your phone, to cook, to watch television, or even to work from home using your computer, you are basically at, and maybe you only have a bulb in your house, you're at tier 1 consumption.
Yeah, you might be at tier 1 consumption. Maybe you have a solar lantern. That's tier 1.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you were to define now that those two things, that makes Kenya has a lot of solar lanterns. Even in the rural areas, you'll be able to get solar lanterns. But if you were to give them the definition of access based on tier 2, most households might not be able to reach that threshold.
So Kenya is still below threshold for electricity access, given the definition that we are working
Yes, if we work with the tier 2 level of access, 76% of Kenyans have access to tier 2 or above. In terms of electricity access. So they can be able to charge their phones, watch televisions, light, have light for 4 hours in the day, 2 hours in the night, and do other things. But if you are talking about tier 1 access, you would put the access rate at about 91%.
So sometimes you might think you are doing better until you notice what is happening in the surrounding. So maybe just help us to understand as because from the grading perspective of our National Examination Board, we know that 70 is a good grade. If you have anything above 70, that's a very good grade. But until you realize that actually other people are smarter and they're doing very well. What is the performance across the continent in terms of electricity access?
Across the continent, Kenya is not badly off. I'll begin by that. If you look at our immediate neighbors, at least in the East African region, Kenya is among the leading with 76% tier 2 access. But if you go to West Africa, for example, there are countries like Senegal, which are almost at 90%. There are countries like Ghana, which are also almost at 90%. If you go to the North African regions...
That's tier 2 access.
That's tier 2 access. If you go to the North African regions, now those ones you can't even compete with because most of them have almost 100% access. You're talking about Morocco, Tunisia, Egypt, those countries. And even if you go to the Southern African region, South Africa, for example, it is almost at also 100%. So Kenya is well
an average
above its peers.
No, in the region we are doing well, but in the continent we are average.
So more efforts have to be made.
More efforts have to be made
to ensure that access is equitable to everyone in the country.
So what will you say the major variables that are being considered affecting electricity access? Because one of the kind of discussions we hear out here is that it's easier to provide access to people who live closer in clusters, like in urban areas. And in most past areas, like I've had an opportunity to travel in the northwestern part of Kenya, counties like Turkana and West Pokot, and people live in far places from one another. And most of them actually don't have tier 2 access. What will you say is the role of population organization in ensuring there's enough access?
The region in sub-Saharan Africa has around 550 million people who do not have access to electricity.
That's a huge number.
Of these 550 million people who don't have access to electricity, around 440 million come from the rural areas. So we are talking about almost 90% or 80% of households living in rural areas not being able to have access to electricity. And if we go back home, we've talked about 76% access. Most of this is located in urban or slightly urban areas, and 24% is in very
rural areas, remote and far-flung areas.
Very remote. And the reason as to why this takes this is in this shape is because of what we call economies and diseconomies of scale. It's easier for a utility like Kenya Power to go and connect households in Kiambu or households in Nairobi because it's able to get a reasonable return on the investment. One transformer is able to, let's say, if you look at just a residential building in Mathare, for example, it has like 300 or 400 inhabitants.
Yeah.
So, and around, let's say, 100 households. That's enough for it to justify the investment in a transformer, in drop lines, and in medium voltage transmission lines. But if you go to rural areas which are very far from number one, the national grid, and they are in a way very sparsely populated, it becomes very hard to justify extending the national grid.
There are no economies of scale.
Transformers to those households. And you know, these households are also disproportionately affected by income levels. So urban households have slightly higher incomes than households in the rural areas. So even the ability to pay for electricity is normally a challenge. So this is the scenario that we have as to why urbanization and urban areas have a lot of great
higher
access,
electricity access,
and rural areas have a challenge. But governments are getting mechanisms of making sure that this is improved upon, because if you look at Kenya, for example, we have Kenya Power, and we have the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, whose role is to make sure that electricity access reaches the most remotest of places in the country. So when you're coming to planning for electricity access, there are 3 or 4 modalities that are normally considered. The first one is grid densification. Grid densification is basically the ability to connect households that are within 600 meters from a medium voltage line.
So that's the radius.
Yes, the radius. And so most of them are in Nairobi, let's say Kiambu, Mombasa, those urban areas. Then we have grid intensification. Now with grid intensification, you're connecting households, but they're probably within 0.6 to 1.5 kilometers from the grid. So the investments are minimal. You're investing in a few distribution lines, a few transformers, some low voltage, some drop lines and meters, and you're able to connect these households. Then we have grid extension. Now, grid extension can extend from 1.6 kilometers all the way to 10 kilometers. Now, this one requires a lot of investment, because now you have to not only invest in the medium voltage lines, you might have to put in a substation somewhere else, you might have to put in some distribution lines, and power has to be transmitted, then step down for 450.
That's why you need a substation.
So those are the discussions that normally take place. And aside from that, now there are areas, even with extending the grid, become very difficult to electrify. They are far-flung areas. Let's say island areas, let's say like Migingo Island. Or islands in the Lamu areas and things like that. Those ones might need a different kind of system.
Actually, most of them are not even connected.
So there are things we call mini-grids. And standalone solar systems. Mini-grids basically electrify regions which are far from the national grid, and where it's very expensive to extend the national grid to them. So you get isolated systems that are able to generate power and distribute power to these areas without having been connected to the grid itself. And then we have standalone systems. Now these are areas where even the mini grid doesn't make sense. Where households are highly dispersed. We can get one household there and the other household, like 200 or 300 meters.
So that's if you're working with the 600-meter radius for the transformer, then it really, you'll serve only maybe very few households.
You cannot. So people have their own standalone systems that are able to serve specific households without having to be connected to the grid or to any distribution system. And so we have some companies that do that in this country.
Wow. That is quite something to understand. And no wonder, we see many politicians promising their people that we are going to bring you power. But I think that becomes a difficult job with an organization like Kenya Power and Lightning Company, where on the other side, it is politically important that some of those very small islands are promised power as soon as the next election. But from the KPLC perspective, they have to look at the economies.
The planning
has to be very efficient. Has to make sense in terms of service and even the budget and everything.
And in most cases, when you want to connect now these clusters, they're called sub-economic clusters.
Sub-economic clusters.
Because you cannot think of them returning the investment in the normal way.
Yeah.
You have to think about what other things are they bringing to the table.
Yes.
So are they improving education? Are they improving agriculture to justify this investments?
Yeah.
But if you look at now what you're mentioning, some counties, the REREC, which is the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, has begun a system where it cooperates with counties. So counties say we need electricity. They will be told, please provide this amount, and we will provide this amount.
Or they share the cost of distribution
to extend the grid to this and this areas.
Okay.
So those are a few innovative ways that.
Yeah, and we've also seen development partners like some of the Bretton Woods institutions investing also in some of these socially viable electrification programs, which on the economic side, they'll not make sense.
Especially, let me tell you, on development partners. If not for development partners, a lot of countries, especially in the African region, will not be able to have access rates that we have.
Okay.
If you look at Kenya, for example, we have the last mile connectivity program that was sponsored by World Bank and the African Development Bank. That one played a huge role in leaping the country forward and improving its access rates. We have the existing ongoing Kenya Off-Grid Solar Access Program that is now developing these mini-grids that I was telling you, 114 of them in very rural and remote areas to be able to serve these clusters which cannot be served economically by the national grid. So development partners play a huge role in making sure that access to electricity is possible, but also among the stakeholders who support electricity access is you and me.
Yeah.
If you look,
we are the primary stakeholders.
We are the primary stakeholders. So not only do the taxes we pay, which are allocated.
Actually, I was one time in a place called Wasini in Kwale County.
Okay.
It's an island that is a bit off the coast, off the Shimoni area in Diani. And the locals there were telling me, they tell us that we are stakeholders. They tell us that sisi ni washikadau. Lakini kwa ukweli wa maneno, sisi ni wenye dau. Like they are the owners of the stake.
They are.
And not just the holders of the stake.
For sure.
And somehow that's not how decisions are made. I think sometimes the primary consumer, you and me, are put at the very bottom of the pyramid when we should be at the apex of all considerations.
For sure.
Maybe you can just expound more on the role of stakeholders in making sure that we have electricity access.
The stakeholders play a huge role. Number one, the taxes that you pay, just the normal taxes that you pay, amount to the budget allocations that fund some of these electrification programs. Another thing, if you look at your electricity bill, I think we'll get into it later on, but there's the rural electrification levy that we pay, that is 5% of the electricity tariffs. That amount that we pay goes directly to fund the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation and funding its activities around electrification. So we are stakeholders. We actually pay for access to electricity to these regions. That's the role we play.
You've spoken about the consumers. That is the local Mwananchi, the citizen. And you've also spoken about development partners. You've given examples like the World Bank and African Development Bank and the role they play. And government agencies like the Rural Electrification, the REREC, and Kenya Power. So who are the people? Maybe do we have legislation around electrification? What's the role of regulation? Because you have regulators also in this space. And policy makers.
On aspects of regulation, the regulator doesn't play a huge role with regard
in access.
To access.
Their
but
role
they
comes
play
in
a huge role with regard to the reliability of this
reliability.
power.
Okay.
And also we've talked about providers of standalone systems and providers of this mini grid electricity. They are supposed to be licensed by the regulator. So basically, by the regulator licensing them, it basically is ensuring that the quality of power that we're receiving has been approved by the regulator. They also decide on issues of tariffs, which is very important. Cost is a very important factor, especially when you go to rural areas.
Yeah.
And so the regulator plays that role on regard to making sure that at least the electricity that we get is accessible, at least affordable, and reliable.
And reliable.
That is
so those three factors must play.
That the regulator plays. But in most cases, it's the development partners, our contributions, and the government allocations that move the needle on electricity access.
I want us to look to go back a bit into urbanization and look at the current program that the current regime is highly pursuing. That is the affordable housing program. And also there are many other private developers in the market who are advancing access to housing. Go to any city in Kenya, you will see a lot of real estate development and communities getting organized around modern apartments and community estates. Is this what's your take on this program as regards access to energy and also managing the costs of consumption and distribution? Because you initially stated that there will always be mechanisms to make sure that the cost of distributing to the very last mile, even if it is 600 beyond the 600-meter mark, is recovered. So is this a step forward for you when we are going urban through the affordable housing programs and gated communities and community estates?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to understand that, number one, the definition of urban and rural in the electrification spectrum
is different.
Differs from a lot of
urban planning
that we do. I was fortunate enough, and my firm was fortunate enough to participate in the development of the Kenya National Electrification Strategy of 2025. And we're also currently participating in the development of the National Electrification Program of Ethiopia 3.0. On aspects of urbanization and rural development, for Kenya, the definition of urban was clusters that regions with clusters of more than 2,000 households
per
square kilometer.
Per square kilometer.
Yes. And
so that means a place like Vihiga could be rural, but
it has urban areas.
It's urban in terms of that definition.
Yes, it has urban areas. Then for rural was the opposite. Clusters with less than 2,000 households per square kilometer. So when you get into that definition, housing makes sense. Because you're able to understand, there are urban areas in Vihiga. There are urban areas in Wajir. There are urban areas in Marsabit.
Provided there are those clusters.
So that's why...
Even in a refugee camp. Because there are so many concentrated in one area.
So those are the discussions that normally take place. But still on the issue of urbanization, there are areas with more urban centers than others. So if you look at, I'll go into the county electricity access rates. Over 50% of counties in Kenya have 70% access to electricity.
That's more than 50%, more than 24 counties.
More than 24 counties. And the normal culprits, Nairobi, Kajiado, Kiambu, most of the Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, those ones are very common. But we also have, like, if you go to the Western County, Vihiga County has very high electricity access rates.
Because of population density.
If you go to the central region, almost all the counties have significantly high access.
Except Laikipia. Laikipia is more of a ranch.
Laikipia is huge.
It's very huge.
But if you look at Nyandarua, you look at
Meru,
Nyeri,
Embu.
They have very huge high access rates because of what we call that urbanization in those areas. So those counties are have significantly high access, and also they have significantly very high number of people. And then there are counties which still fall below the 50% threshold of electricity access.
Yeah.
And these are mostly the underserved counties in Kenya.
Yeah. And where population is highly sparse.
Yes, and we have the normal culprits of Marsabit,
Wajir.
Mandera, Wajir. Some counties in Western Kenya as well as in Nyanza also have below the 50% threshold. So it's a call to action to make sure that these counties also are able to get access to electricity.
Access to electricity.
Yeah.
So Amkoa Likoko, I want us now to look at the tariffs that exist in Kenya and also in the region, and the thought process behind putting in place these tariffs and the impact of these tariffs in terms of access and consumption of electricity. Maybe you can just take us through the tariff framework.
Yeah, I think Kenya has one of the highest electricity tariffs in the region, actually in Africa. And it's because mostly our tariffs are cost reflective. Cost reflective meaning that they are able to pay for the value chain of power generation.
Yeah.
So from generation, transmission, distribution, retail sales, the tariffs are able to cover those costs. And we also have we mentioned this previously, they have very expensive plants that we have in our system that also put the tariff at a very high level. But the tariffs, if I was to give you a breakdown, we have the base tariff, and we have the fuel, the charges that we mentioned, the pass-through costs that form part of the tariff, and also the levies, including the rural electrification levy that I've mentioned, support significantly in electricity access. Other areas in the region have significantly lower tariffs. If you go to Ethiopia, our neighbors, here they are going for at least 4 US cents. 4 US cents is around 5-6 shillings per unit, while you're paying around 22, 23 shillings.
I'm paying almost 5 times.
Yes. But their tariffs are also very highly subsidized, meaning the government has come in to be able to
take care of the difference,
some of the costs.
Yeah.
And also they have very low cost generating plants, a lot of hydropower plants which have already recovered their investment, so that justifies their tariffs. But if you go to countries like Senegal, for example, Senegal has very high tariffs, almost equal to that of our country, but it is also subsidized.
It will even be higher.
It could even
because
be
now
higher.
it costs more to generate energy.
Because they have very expensive power generating plants, which are thermal power generating plants. In the region, the Western African region, it's probably one of the highest, because Nigeria, talking about
Ghana,
9 US cents, Ghana around 11 US cents. They're playing a very low margin compared to what other countries are. So it varies significantly. But Kenya's tariffs are cost reflective, and they're able to recover the costs of ensuring that every aspect of the value chain that ensures that electricity is affordable, is reliable to you, is catered for. So that's what happens. We could get into a subsidy scheme, but that will not be sustainable, because even countries that have done subsidization are slowly removing the subsidy mechanisms because of the impact on the government balance sheet.
Okay. Well, from a layman's perspective, when you increase access to electricity, will that mean that now we have more people sharing the cost of generation, or you'll still have more tariffs going higher because the cost of generation is going up, and you are going to invest even more into the distribution and generation expenses?
I think it depends on how the regulator will handle the revenue requirements of the system. But if you increase access to electricity, there's a high probability that you will get revenues due to the payments
You are
that
more
get,
people paying.
that you get from the people, but you'll also have to invest in the medium voltage lines, substation distribution lines,
Yeah.
low voltage, drop lines and meters
Yeah.
that are able to ensure that these people have access. So it's more of a balancing equation. You cannot really determine whether the costs are going to go up, going to go low, or going
It's a
to be neutral
plus minus kind of mathematics.
in those dynamics.
Okay.
Because the cost will increase for power provision, and also the revenues that come from this power supply will also increase.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing equation.
Okay.
Yeah, it might remain as is in most cases.
Yeah.
But the regulator does these tariff reviews after every 3 years.
Yeah.
So once the regulator does the tariff reviews based on the revenue requirement, then at that point they might decide, now this is what we have, this is the number of customers, this is the number of industries. Probably no, let's look at the cost for Kenya Power, let us look at the cost for the people. Yeah, but it has to always be cost reflective.
Cost reflective.
Yes.
Cost reflective is the model.
Cost reflective model.
Okay. Yeah. Now I want us to look, talking about cost reflective, when you purchase electricity tokens using your phone, there's a message that you get from Kenya Power, or even when you're using the application. Maybe you can help us understand what that message means in terms of what the consumer should be able to understand about these tariffs and how the costs are broken down. What are they?
Yeah, so if you look at the way the tariff is structured, it's structured in a way that is able to ensure that all the costs in the system are recovered. The cost of supplying power to you are recovered, and also ensure that a lot of investments in things like rural electrification take place. So the tariff has what we call the base tariff. The base tariff is basically the costs of generation, transmission, distribution, and the revenue requirements that are required for that system to effectively work out. Aside from the base tariff, we have the pass-through costs. The pass-through cost has three key costs. We have the inflation adjustment, we have the fuel energy costs, and we have the foreign exchange adjustment fluctuation levy. Those costs basically cater for the fluctuations in the system, be it in fuel, be it inflation, be it in foreign exchange.
Okay.
Then aside from that, now we have levies. Now you will see the ERC levy. Basically, it's the levy to make sure that the regulator is financially sustainable and is able to do his work in regulating the system. We have the Water Resource Management Authority levy. You remember we have hydropower plants in the country. Those hydropower plants have a levy that they pay to the Water Resource Management Authority, and it's supposed to be paid after we consume some of the water resources through electricity. And aside from that, we also have the Rural Electrification Program levy, which is one of the reasons why we're discussing rural electrification. It's a 5% of electricity sales that we consumers are charged to be able to pay for electrification in rural areas. So that is what forms the token amount. So if you look at your tokens, you'll see how much you've paid for your units and how much you've paid for other charges. So the other charges are the pass-through costs and the levies that add on to that unit cost.
Yeah. Wow. Now we understand. And you still have to pay for the tokens now. Now, after you've paid for the levy, for the inflation adjustment rate, for the
water resource management,
and all manner of things, you still have now to pay for the token.
For the token, because that's the cost of the system.
That's the cost of the system.
Yes.
So the idea is to make the bill predictable. So that's why we even have to take care of inflation.
Yes.
And also to ensure that it's sustainable, it's stable. All players are well taken care of in terms of shouldering their expenses, their running expenses, and ensuring that the consumer at the end of the day has power.
Yes, all these stakeholders are part of the system. And the ecosystem has to work.
Is there VAT on this bill?
Yes, there's a value added tax, which is 16%.
16% as at now?
Yes.
Okay. It's important to know because these taxes usually have a multiplier effect.
They do.
You put a VAT on electricity consumption, and many other things get affected.
Yeah,
But good to understand that. I'll now want again to go back slightly back on financing and look at initially you spoke about the role of development partners in ensuring that we have access to electricity even in areas which were not economically viable to have. They don't have the advantages of economies of scale to have access to energy. Maybe you can speak more about financing, especially on how the expenses are shared among the various stakeholders.
Yeah, that's very good. As I mentioned, there's very many. The stakeholders in electrification are you and I, the government, and development partners. In most cases, those are the three stakeholders. In the electrification spectrum, the development partners play probably the biggest role. Remember, they finance these projects, but on a concessional basis. Basically, it's the government doing this, but using the finance from development partners. But the concessional loans are normally very affordable loans, very one-digit percentage point loans, and so they play the bulk of electrification. You can, in most countries, you see that around 50 to 60% of the costs of electrifying regions is catered for through these development partner initiatives. Then around 30% is covered by the government allocations, and the remaining is covered by you and I
through the payments.
Through some payments, through probably these payments, and also, we are supposed to pay some connection fee. So if you're to be connected to a household, for example, you will be told this is the cost of connection.
Yeah. And sometimes it's very high.
Sometimes it's high.
Yeah.
And there was a time during the previous administration where it was 15,000. You remember, where every household was allowed to pay 15,000 to be able to to connect to the grid. That was not the cost of connection. The cost of connection was way more, but you have to play a role to be able to reduce the costs for the system.
The cost for the system.
Yes.
Wow. We see that electrification of a country is more than just something that affects the energy sector.
Yeah.
It looks like it now affects the whole country, all sectors.
Yeah.
Maybe what's the importance of electricity access in a nation?
If you look at Vision 2030, which was our blueprint for development into coming into an upper middle income economy.
Yeah.
Electrification was considered an enabler.
An enabler for Vision 2030.
An enabler for Vision 2030. Because of its multidimensional impacts on all the other sectors of the economy. You talk about agriculture, you talk about industry, talk about education, you talk about healthcare. Electrification is at the heart of ensuring that these other facets of the economy are well developed. So that's the importance of electrification. It enables the development of every other sector in the economy. And also, the beauty of it is that it doesn't just do that. It does that by improving human capital development. So if you have access to power, you as an individual, Rick, there's so much you're able to do.
Yeah.
You're able to study, you're able to have security,
you're able to
work efficiently with your laptop. So it improves the human capital and your resourcefulness to be able to make sure that these other sectors are functioning perfectly.
Very well.
That's why we call it an enabler. Because it will enable you, and you will enable all these other things.
Yeah. Wow. So we should look at access to electricity, not just from lighting up our homes or getting to be able to cook with clean energy, but also to consider that this is one of the ways in which we can develop our healthcare system, our education sector. We can improve our security, and we can also improve the standard of living, because it's basically the core of civilization and modern.
It is the core of civilization. And if you want to look at regions that are developing, in most cases, electricity access is very much available. And if you want to also look at underdevelopment, look no further than areas that do not have access to electricity.
That's a very, very important statement that I think most stakeholders, all stakeholders, should really carry it as they go to make decisions, as they make investment decisions. And I think also people who are looking to be entrepreneurial, usually you look for things that will carry a nation, because business is supposed also to sort out challenges. And this is one of those areas where we can all invest and make sure we have a world that is equal, because with some people having access and others not having access, again, you're not having equity in the community.
That is true.
Amkoa Likoko, it's been a pleasure hosting you. Always a pleasure having you at this conversation.
Thank you very much, Rick. I really appreciate being hosted here. It's quite a pleasure to be able to discuss things of electricity and things of energy that really matter, because electricity is the foundation of civilization. And having these discussions are a step in the right direction. I am reachable via LinkedIn or via email at ericlikoko@gmail.com. Please feel free to reach out. We can be able to have these discussions and make sure that we move our country forward in the right direction.
Thank you so much. Amkoa Likoko is an energy economist and consultant at GME Global, and always passionate about energy. We have these conversations on and off the camera, and it's always a pleasure. And to you who has kept on watching and learning and growing, thank you for keeping it the Executive Review Podcast. I am your host, Rick Okinda. See you in the next one.